What is up, down, and sideways, you beautiful individuals? It is another FPF League Unlock. Aaron and Mark here with you folks today for, in honor of the GOAT, Faker, re-signing 4 more years. T1 locking it up. We got to keep this guy. We are looking at a scary timeline dimension where what would the state of competitive League of Legends, LoLesports as a whole, look like if Faker retired tomorrow? If he's gone, if you remove Faker from LoLesports right now, I think it is a cataclysmic event, and LoLesports would be, it's a disaster because of how integral this guy is to the brand as a whole.
It's a two-parter. The first thing, I'm incredibly scared by that type of statement coming through if that's the timeline that we'd be in. But also at the same time, I'm starting to kind of check it, kind of the initial reaction to that type of statement, that type of thing. If this is what was, the alternate timeline that we're in, I'm checking it against thinking, who are the other greats amongst all other esports, amongst all other traditional sports even? And I'm starting to think about, okay, take them, say that they're moving on, they're retiring, they're stepping away. What is the vacuum that they leave behind, the impact that they are there of them not being involved, not being active in that sport, esport anymore? Faker is amongst the highest of the highs, and I'm talking about guys like LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, and then you go on full down the list. He is that type of great, that type of impactful guy. Is going to be a serious one to talk about here because, man, the ripple effect, let's just call it, of what it would be of him stepping away from the game at this point would be massive.
Yeah, and I know there's been a similar conversation like this around the NBA with LeBron when he retires. Who's going to be the face of the league? Who can kind of step in and fill that fandom that a guy who's become a billionaire from his career? But I feel like the drop-off is even bigger for Faker. I mean, all you have to look at is any storyline heading to a major event. Basically every single time it's the final boss, it's the return, all the storylines, all roads lead to Faker. If you remove that, wow, Riot creative teams all of a sudden gotta go, wait, we can't just throw in Faker as the main storyline for this. How many of the all-time best plays on the biggest stage are Faker? He is synonymous with the game itself.
It's one of the ultimate excitement, entertainment trump cards that you can throw down on the play table is, hey, you want to see the greatest of all time in our game put together a greatest of all time moment? Here you go. You must watch these events. That's because of the tension, the excitement, the prize that is on the line, or the pride of it all in his career and what we have seen him accomplish. That's a big part of that for sure. And no question, you see that in the viewership numbers for these events all the way across it. You're talking about, regular season LCK, you're going Red Bull League of their own event, MSI, World Championships, EWC, who cares what the tournament is? T1 and Faker, as a big part of it, is always one of the biggest draws towards these events.
I mean, now seeing non-Riot events, the first question for any organizer is, how do we get T1 at the event? How do we get them involved? Because that's the immediate boost to viewership. The 5 most viewed games of all time in League of Legends all feature T1. Now, a lot of these are World Finals because those are usually the most viewed game of the year, but T1 is more often than not in those World Finals. And in a tumultuous time where you're seeing viewership dip in the LTA, dip in the LEC, the last couple of years, the LCK has been climbing up. And yes, that is a combination of squads like Gen G, players like Chovy, having a resurgence, being competitive, but it's also been this second dynasty of T1. And in 2024, the 10 most viewed games across the entire LCK year, every single one was T1, and they didn't even win a title in the LCK.
And I can talk from the perspective for sure of knowing some friends, my brother, a family member going through of people who have lapsed from the game of League of Legends, who don't individually interact with the game on a day-to-day, week-to-week type of, heck, even month-to-month basis at that point. But still feel the move of the needle within the game and within the scene when Faker and T1 are accomplishing things, when they are taking these world championships, when you are seeing these big matches. Even people that are so removed from the scene are able to hear the sound waves that are coming through from it, knowing, okay, I got to tune in. I got to check in on this thing again. I'm still interested in seeing the greatest of all time try to do it, try to add more to this impressive resume. And I think when you look at, again, the slope, the viewership, the type of angles on where the trajectory of the game would be going, without him there as this ultimate figure, this main raid boss that will always be the ultimate test and ultimate challenge of League of Legends, it is a hard path and road to envision finding success and finding growth for the game and for viewership.
Yeah, I got friends that haven't touched League of Legends in like 10 years, and they'll still be like, is Faker still playing? Is Faker still good? And I'm like, yes, it's this guy can beat Father Time itself. And just talk about the inspiration that he's been to other players, right? Going back to even Showmaker and even much further than that, it's been guys saying he was their inspiration and role model in modeling their game off of him.
You're looking at him and what he has done throughout his career, and how many times have we stepped into an MSI, to a world championship, some type of event, and there is a young player that does generate some excitement within the scene. People are looking at them as a high potential, all sorts of things. It's almost always checked up. Well, how do you do against the very best? How do you test yourself against the guy that is the ultimate reward of League of Legends, is finding a star player, a superstar player like the unkillable Demon King. Always talking about that. We just had a fresh example at MSI with Hong Q, born in 2000 and whatever, who knows? But we are checking him against Faker still. Is that test of all time when you're talking about how do you rise up, can you be a star player? Without him on the scene, without him as that type of measuring stick, it becomes a different scenario. When you're talking about even guys who can challenge, who can even possibly sniff the heights that he has reached within his career, you're looking at someone maybe more like Chovy, and even then it doesn't generate the same type of excitement, the same type of outside noise that someone like Faker can, and bring eyeballs towards the scene.
With all the added pressure that's been on, again, viewership for this game over the last couple of years, I legit think if he did retire, it wouldn't be immediate, but you would see an accelerated collapse of the entire game, the competitive scene at the very least. You'll have the solo queue live on, but the competitive integrity of it would have a huge dip for Faker. And I will say, if he does announce, a final year, a final tour, man, those skin sales for the Ari skin, oh my, that would be enough to keep Riot afloat for a couple of years.
And that would be something that I think I don't know, I'll be honest. Personally, I flip-flop a little bit about it, because sometimes it can create this scenario where maybe it catches you a little bit off guard, but it still feels that extra bit of special, that you had this run, you didn't have this asterisk beside it, knowing that, okay, well, here is the conclusion, here is the definitive end type of situation. At the same time, we've seen it within Major League Baseball, professional football, all sorts of things, when guys are these greats, these legends of the game. Never mind, again, how much Faker is in regards to being that legend for League of Legends. But having him and having these star guys and having them go out, you get kind of a thank you party on the way out, even from the teams that are, that you've been beaten up against. You've been putting them down in the dirt all these times. You still get these little tokens of appreciation for what you meant to that sport, to the whole thing as a whole. Really think that would be kind of a special thing to see in not only the LCK, but especially at international events against some of these main organizations that we have obviously seen so many of these moments Faker has had.
Yeah, and you already kind of saw a taste of that in his Hall of Legends video a couple of years ago. All the former, current coaches, casters, all speaking to the impact that his career has had on them, and it's made a lot of their careers because he helped blow up, again, not just League of Legends, but when you're talking about Faker, you're talking one of the most recognizable esports figures, transcending any game that he's involved in. So thankfully for now, we don't have to worry about the retiring, the end of an era. Riot can say, phew, we already got the script written out for the world songs, all the teaser videos, and we can just enjoy the Unkillable Demon King and see viewerships probably continue to be smashed as they will eventually go for that three-peat again at the World Championship.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see that one from your boy and the rest of the T1 crew. But especially, I think it's kind of an interesting angle to take a look at this, envision, the dark past, dark future, whatever it would be if Faker was to step away from the game at this point, especially coming with the renewal of that contract. And as well, even more so to me, looking at his comments from the EWC talking about that, you know what? I would like to see more individual, capability within the game, right? It becomes too much of this team fight, team organization type of game at the recent point. I would like to see a little bit more of that individual agency put into the game, the individual ability to change it. And yes, I think that is a correct statement from the GOAT and what he is envisioning for. But at the same time, you kind of go, buddy, you look at the last 2 years, you talk about big time plays, changing the momentum, changing the course of it individually. I think you are not the guy to be talking about it because we've seen you be that guy to make these type of changes.
But whenever Faker is saying something about the state of the game, you best believe, at least I hope, that Riot is sitting there with pen and paper going, okay, if Mr. Faker says this, maybe it's something we do need to look into because, again, he is Atlas holding up this entire esport right now and has for the majority of his career. But that is it today. For League Unlock, Eric and Mark with you. Absolute beauties. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we will all say a prayer that, yes, Faker is still involved in the esports scene.